eat wings anymore. Hey, what's up, you guys? Welcome back to the PHNX Mercury podcast. I am your host, Erika today. I'm joined by PG1, QB1, on and off the field, in and out of the court. Wait, on and off the court, in and out of the studio. I was almost close to having it perfect. Stephen Pridgen Garner, how the heck are you doing on this fine Friday morning?
Doing great. Keeping busy, needless to say. But the Mercury have a couple of days off, which is still weird to even be saying because that just simply has not been the case all season long. But they are amidst the 3 days off before Sunday's game. That's a little different. They might not know what to do with themselves, quite honestly.
Satou got to go to that concert. She got a little night off after the dub. You know, actually, before we get started on the pod too much, I do want to give a quick shout out because they knew they were going to win that game. They wouldn't have bought concert tickets for right after the game if they didn't know. You know, they knew the vibes.
That's definitely a business decision that you don't make unless you know you're gonna cash in on the front end of that. I will say that respectfully.
Yeah, I was giggling when I saw that before I was even out of the arena. They were off doing Lord knows what venue here in Phoenix with Coco Jones. But I do want to give a special shout out to our producer Damon Dog today, because not only is Damon Dog producing the show for us at the last minute, he's flying through the X's and O's this morning, but also Arizona Wildcats are in the College World Series this morning, and Damon Dog is here producing our show instead of watching that. So I do want to give Damon Dog a special shout out today. Thank you, Damon, for being with us. I hope that we are having a really positive conversation here in about 2.5 hours regarding the Arizona Wildcats baseball season. You know, no guarantees, but you know, we like to manifest positivity around here. So, but we do have a really special guest today, and this is the second time he's been on our pod. So I know Steven's really excited. I'm really excited. The studio's been buzzing all day. They're all jealous that we get this guy and they don't. So ha 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 to all of them. But without further ado, co-star, main man of the Dunker Spot pod, Nekias Duncan. How the heck are you on this fine Friday morning?
I am doing well. Happy to be back. Happy to rock with y'all. Happy to talk some Mercury and just some W overall. It's been a really fun season. I, like Satou Sabally, have kind of felt the condensing of the schedule here as we're balancing the W season and the NBA Finals are happening. So that's a lot of fun. But no, I'm excited about this one.
Yeah, Nekias, I can't tell you how excited we are to have you back on the pod today. And, you know, I will say the Mercury season is looking a lot better than it was looking last year at the same time when we kind of talked to you. So, you know, I feel like we're getting a little bit of a different vibe this year than we got last year with you. So I'm really excited to be able to have you on the pod and get your takes on the Aces as well as the new look Mercury. So, you know, we saw I want to say a big win on Wednesday versus the Wings. You know, moves the Mercury to 7-4, second best record that they've had in franchise history, best since 2018. I feel like this is positionally the best place we've seen the Mercury. The vibes have been so up in and around the team, and you know, with the way we saw them execute on Wednesday, start to end, I couldn't be more satisfied.
I think if you told me, and I'll let Nekai speak for himself on that, but if you told me that they had the injuries that they saw literally after the first preseason game, that they would start the season 7-4, I don't know if I would believe it, because there's just so much newness.
Yeah.
No head coaching change, but the system and the offense that they're running is completely different. The defense is completely different. Outside of Mack and Copper, pretty much everything else is relatively new. That's a lot of newness, and the fact that Mack and Copper weren't even involved with the players that were actually starting the season, that's a lot of adversity in an unscripted manner that you have to kind of go up against. So being 7-4, having the third best record in the league, only behind the two teams that were the two best in the league last season and in the finals ultimately, that says a lot about the buy-in That says a lot about the culture established. That says a lot about the hashtag depth that no one wanted to believe in because they didn't know the names. Kind of proving his worth early on in the season already. So I'm curious, Nekias, what have been your kind of early thoughts about a 7-4 start for a team that's pretty much brand new?
Similar to you, kind of surprised that it's been this good of a start this early, especially with who they faced, and another hat tip to Satou Sabally, how condensed this schedule has been for them. And so for them to get out of this stretch 7-4 with, honestly, it could be 9-2. A couple of fourth quarters go differently. Like, they've been in most of these games. It's been really impressive stuff. You've already mentioned the buy-ins. Like, I think can we put some respect on the head coach's name? Is that allowed yet, or do we need to wait a little bit more? Because I mean, they are taking 3-pointers, so I don't know if we're allowed to celebrate what the Mercury are doing on offense. But no, in all seriousness, it's been really impressive. I have had a blast watching this team and learning about some of these players that I wasn't privy to heading into the season. Like, quick story, I've been doing some freelance writing with Bleacher Report this year. And so to open the season, they wanted a power ranking, win projection, whatever. And shortly after that, they wanted an article detailing each team's best prospect or best player 25 or younger. And I remember sending the email like, hey, so I'm looking at the Mercury roster, right? And I think there are like 2 players eligible, and neither of them have W experience. So like, I'm going to do my best, but like, I just wanted to give you the heads up in case you want to tweak anything. And like, I ultimately landed on Monique Makani in that piece, and like, finding as much YouTube video as I can to kind of get a feel for the game, sound the overseas stats. I'm like, so she can shoot. This is cool. We're going to see how long it takes for teams to kind of adjust to that. And that piece was coming off of the opening win against Seattle, where, hey, Skylar didn't have a good time dealing with Monique. She's screening for AT. She's navigating everything. She's knocking down shots. It's like, when is the league gonna catch up to Monique and what she does? And I know we're gonna talk a little bit more about her and the team overall, but like, it's been a fun discovery process just as a basketball fan and as an analyst. And again, like, this is a team that shoots all over the place. They space incredibly well. They're also subtle as to how they get to their spacing to open up those driving lanes for Satou and Alyssa Thomas. Defensively, I was looking this up this morning. The average pickup point defensively for the Mercury was about 41 feet last year. That was 10th in the league. It's about 53 feet this year. That is tops in the league. And they're above New York by like 4 or 5 feet. Like, the full court pressure has been a lot of fun. And then you get into the scheme versatility there. It's just been a really fun, active, versatile group. And I'm curious to see what it looks like as team gets more tape on them and figure out what these players can and can't do and get into more game plan specific stuff. But you can also counterbalance that with Kahleah Copper's coming back at some point, and that's going to throw a wrench into what teams want to do on both ends of the floor. So it's been a good and exciting start for this Mercury group.
Well, and I'm glad you brought up the return of Kahleah Copper, as well as you threw some respect on our guy Nate Tibbetts' name, because there've been a lot of negative Nancy's talking about him for a year and a half, and I've been on this show, preaching to the choir about it, and I'm like, thank you, Nekias, for coming on and saying what I've been saying for the last year and a half. So, but Damon, there's this tweet, and I'm going to talk about it for a second from Kahleah Copper. I'm just going to talk about it for just a second, guys. I'm not breaking any news. But, this tweet does imply that Kahleah Copper will be in Chicago. And then, Damon, I need you to pull up the scheduling screenshot I sent you. The Sky is in 8 days. And the next time that the Phoenix Mercury travel to Chicago is not until late August.
Mm-hmm.
So, again, I'm not breaking any news here. I'm not saying Kahleah Copper's coming back, but I am suggesting that maybe she's planning on traveling with the team, which is a good sign to come for the Phoenix Mercury and Kahleah Copper.
Yeah, the window of time that she could be anticipated to be back based off of when the injury took place and when the news broke for us to report was Sunday against the Aces. Now, I didn't think she would necessarily be back for that game just because it's a road game. They're coming off of a bunch of days off. I figured they would probably want to bring her back the following game against the New York Liberty, I believe, which is middle of next week. I imagine that's when we probably see her, but Detective Day over here.
Hey, I had some help. Shout out David Veenstra and Tia Reed for that. We've been working on the fly on the Twitters. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I saw that tweet though, and I was like, let me look at that schedule.
Maybe she told on herself a little bit.
it's okay. We got Nate Tibbetts availability in like an hour and a half, and I just trust and believe that someone will ask about it. So I know David Veenstra is watching. He'll get the hard questions asked in that press conference because we got to know. Whether he actually tells us or not is a different story. But
he's not going to tell us.
I like to theorize nonetheless. Like I said, no breaking news on this show.
I want you to get your hopes up. That's all.
But the Phoenix Mercury don't play at home for 2 weeks. So, I feel like the window of time for her to return does change a little bit with that kind of snippet. I feel like, I was hopeful that she would return at home, but unfortunately with the way the schedule's just worked out, I don't think that that's probably going to happen if the injury worked out according to plan or a little worse or a little better. So here's hoping that Kahleah Copper is making her return within the next week or so. I know that I can't wait for this team to be full strength. As fun as we've had watching this team, with pieces, having the full big three is going to be a really, really fun sight to see.
It is. We still can only speak on it speculatively because they've only played one game together, and that one game was not their full minutes total, nor did it come with chemistry. It was very rough against the Aces, actually. So I think everybody in the franchise is chomping at the bit to see what they truly have once everybody's in rotation. And I think a lot of fans are looking for it the same. Just in knowing that the ceiling that they have could be potentially high, but the floor that they've shown to already have is probably higher than most people anticipated it would be. Curious from Nekias what he's been thinking about as far as the prospects of Kahleah returning and what that might implicate for everybody else on the roster.
Like, I think you get more of a natural sliding into the hierarchy for Kahleah Copper. Like, you slide some of these wings down. And the fact that, to your point, they've shown with more minutes, with the heightened role, and just being able to play off of AT, like something that we've talked about offline and online, Steven, this is a lot more pick and roll being ran by Alyssa Thomas here. It's like the fact that you can always have that kind of thing baked in, and now you have another player that can not just take advantage of tilted defenses, but tilt the defense with her rim pressure. I think is going to be very important for this group. And so, like, that's probably the biggest thing. Just looking at this Phoenix team broadly, 4th in defense, which is very good. They're 9th in offense. And so, like, they've gotten off to this start without the offense really. They've been very creative, and I liked a lot of what they've done. But it still hasn't been a high-scoring affair for the Mercury yet. And so the fact that the foundation has already been set, again, I already talked about the spacing and the inverted screening and stuff. They're already doing good things process-wise. And now you get to drop conservatively a top 15 talent into this. That can get to the rim whenever she wants to, can sprinkle in pull-up jumpers, has shown proficiency from behind the three-part arc the last couple of years. Like, that just raises the floor and the ceiling of this group, considering what they're already doing, how these role players already slide into things, how AT and Satou have already kind of established themselves in the way they've been used differently this year. You had Kyle on top of that. That is just the counter to some of the switching that Phoenix has been seeing as of late. Like, okay, well, that's fine. You can flatten out some of these actions. Kyle can just get us a bucket now. Or if you are just running your more elaborate stuff and now there's 8 on the shot clock and it didn't work, Ka can get us a bucket to get to the free throw line. Like, to the offense point, this hasn't been a high free throw team for the Mercury. So she helps in that regard as well. Just let's get you into bonus a little bit, make it easier for everyone else to attack and get to the free throw line. So I think she can be really additive to this group.
Yeah, the spacing as well as just unlocking an additional layer for everyone else is going to be the part that I'm really most excited about. Ka has proven to be kind of a fail-safe for Nate Tibbetts over the last year and a half. When things go awry, they can just feed it to Ka, and it works out most times with, to Nekias' point, a bucket. And so, yeah, I think this is going to be a whole new layer for the Phoenix Mercury, and just being able to see the full big three plus Mac and all the other pieces that, again, to your point earlier, like no one really thought the Phoenix Mercury had. It's going to be really interesting, and the floor got much, much, much higher, I feel like.
To the point about the free throws, that's something we talked about in preseason. Just based off of what each player did last season, Kyle was 5th in free throws per 100 possessions. AT was 28th. Kalani Brown was 34th, and Satou was 35th. So you have 4 players in the top 40 for free throws generated in terms of 100 possessions. And I think it's the multiple ways that they all go about doing it as well, especially within the offense that they're running now. It's gonna put defenses in situations that are very uncomfortable. And to Nekias' point, some of the matchup decisions that they've kind of banked on without Kahleah being in the lineup so far, you're just not going to get away with a lot of those things when she is on the court. And even if it's just 2 of the big 3 on the court, the fact that she's going to be there on the perimeter, or if she's off the ball and working into actions the ways in which she can, or just on the second side of something, it's just a lot of pressure on the defense. There's not much room for error, and the moment that it is going to lead to something that works against them.
Yep. I feel like the margin of error for any team playing Mercury just got that much smaller with Ka back on the floor.
And theirs grows a little bit
much
more
bigger.
Yeah.
I think about those out of timeouts that were early in the season. It was like 2 or 3 back-to-back games. I feel like that Mercury kind of struggled with out of timeouts late in the game, and I feel like you're bringing back leadership on the floor that leads to better decision making as well. And when you've got that in tandem with AT and what she's been able to do for everybody on the team, it's going to be a real sight to see for everybody else.
It is, and I'm looking forward to just the organization part that comes with it all. Now everybody's going to be back in their typical roles, the roles that they were brought into this roster to be playing to, and how that just puts people in better position to sustain with success. I think with that, it's probably a good time to just transition to the Wings game and kind of get in and out of there.
Yeah. The Wings game. I had to talk about this from the Wings perspective yesterday, and I won't lie, I wanted to rub it in a little bit, you guys, and I put my best foot forward and didn't do that. I did give a little nanny boo-boo because 35 points from the rookie Paige Bueckers was impressive. To say impressive,
That's
Steven heard my audibles the whole game. I was like, just every time she was shooting, I was like, ooh, like literally out loud, because it was like watching Diana Taurasi on that court reincarnated, and I don't like big player comparisons like that most times, but her shot release is so quick, and the way she was able to get to her spots was really, really impressive. And the fact that she was sick and coming off the concussion protocol, even better. But nonetheless, the Phoenix Mercury were able to kind of shut everybody else down, and that was what impressed me the most.
Everybody else, yeah.
Because I'm saying everybody else,
sure.
And you're going to say the name right now, and
sure.
It was shut down.
Yeah. I mean, I'm going to start with Paige because she was just, not played in, a week and a half, and this didn't look like she missed time at all. She was razor sharp.
She must have been at the YMCA getting up a ton of shots during her time off or something, because
she was on a different level. Her shot making ability, the way that she sees the floor, and she just didn't care who was guarding her, whether it was any of the Mercury guards. A couple times it was Alyssa, a couple times it was Satou. She was giving everybody.
I just need you to know that
work.
The general population is saying that they were playing off of her. And I was like, did you not see Satou's hands in her face? I just get so livid because I'm like, do you watch the game?
Yeah, you weren't playing off of her. She's just an elite space creator.
Thank you.
It's hard to.
I'm like, what do you want from me, man?
Yeah,
oh man,
I think we start there because Paige is excellent, and then we kind of go into everything else. Nekias, Paige Bueckers ?
In hindsight, I should have wore either the Paige Slam t-shirt that I have or one of the YouthCon t-shirts that I have for the occasion. But no, she was nuts. Like, that was a game that I didn't watch live. Like, finals game on Wednesday, I also had like Aces Sparks on the laptop, and but we'll get into Aces talk a little bit later. And so I finally watched the full game earlier today, and the shot making popped me immensely. And like, to your point about how she reads the floor, like, she's just such a good purveyor of space, period. Like, her ability to navigate tight quarters, her ability to decelerate and get into some of these pull-ups where like you freeze frame and it's like, ooh, this is a contested shot. And it's like, no, she's gotten into her gather so quick. The ball's out of her hands already. And like, bodies are there, so it's not bad defense, but she just operates. Like, you think about operating at your own pace, you thinking of like a Luka or somebody more, a Luka, Cade on the NBA side, more methodical. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander's another guy. And like, Paige operates at her own pace, but like, you really feel that with the pull-up and the speed, the different speeds she can get into. Like, no jumper, like form-wise, it looks the same, but like the gather and the speed in which she releases it never feels the same. And I think that's really special to be able to adjust your shot in that many different ways against that many different types of defenders and against this type of help that she's seeing. And so watching her sprinkling these mid-range pulls, watching her take threes on purpose, y'all. Season/career high 7 3-point attempts. She took 6 in the previous 3 games before she went down. Come on. And like naturally there, it's a chicken or the egg type beat. She was feeling it, so she's taking more. But like her hunting out these shots, it's a good thing. She's a good shooter. She needs to tap more into that. It's not going to be 35 points every night. It's not going to be 5 or 7 from behind the arc every night. But she has that kind of trigger. And again, her ability to read defenders, read space, set her footwork almost regardless of what defenses are doing to her or where they're trying to send her. It's special stuff already. And so it was a really impressive performance. And like as someone that has been championing the Monique Okoro-Makani defense for most of the season, I already have her on like the early all defense list for me as I'm tracking folks and whatnot. I didn't think it was bad defense from her, but like Paige just got her a few times in that game. I'm just like, there's not the opening and one. And she's like running to the left side of the floor, turns around in one fluid motion. And I'm just like, there isn't much you can do about that. Like I can nitpick and say attach earlier if you can, but that's that's a superstar shot. Like there isn't much you can do. And so it was a blast to watch that game.
I think you can attest to this too, that defense is just it's an imperfect task. And it's even more of an imperfect task when you're at the point of attack. And you're guarding Skylar Diggins one night. You're guarding Paige Bueckers another night. You're guarding Kelsey Plum another night. You can do everything to the letter of the law of the scheme you want to defend to. You can have a hand in an eyeball, and it might just result in a bucket. And it might be 3 or 4 in a row. And
Sometimes they're just feeling it.
And you have to have a mental fortitude to not get down, but to double down on what it is you're doing, saying that that's just a great player making great shots. And that's why I would just love for people to have a lot more grace for point of attack defenders, because it takes a lot of pride to want to go and play that position defensively for one, but to also do it effectively as well and not allow for it to impact your defense on the next possession, but also your offense on the other end. We already talked about Monique's offense, but 47% from 3, while also going and guarding and running through all of the screens and all of the different contexts that she has to work through defensively. It's an unforgiving task, and I will never allow for the praises to not be sung for players that take on that point of attack defense role, because it's simply the hardest defensive position in basketball these days.
Yeah, and I mean, she didn't play a bad game, so
no.
And then Lexi Held comes in and sticks to her like glue. I mean, Lexi Held's been by far the most impressive bench piece for this team, and that's really saying something considering most of you guys probably didn't even know her name like 3 months ago. So it's been really exciting to watch them fill each other's roles on and off the bench, in tandem with each other.
That's the fun part, because you go from having Monique and everything she does at the point of attack. You might think you got a break coming. Nope, because Lexi's picking up equally, if not slightly further up the court from the inbound pass, and
Lexi is annoying on the defense. I would be angry if I was playing against her. Like Caitlin Crash Out ain't got nothing on me if I'm playing Lexi Held.
I'm gonna leave that one alone. But what I will say is it's fun I imagine it's fun for a coach to know that you have multiple point of attack defenders that can get after it in ways unique to themselves, but do so in a way that's impactful for your defense. That's why their defense is able to be as aggressive and as sustained as it is, because they never lack with ball pressure. It's at Nekias' point with them having the highest pickup points. I was talking to Coach Joyner about it maybe a week or two ago, and he was saying that honestly, it's just about trying to break rhythm. You're trying to find ways to shrink the margins that we always talk about. You give team less time to work in the shot clock. That gives you more time to be aggressive with your defense. They can't create as many advantages. And if you break the rhythm, all it takes is one deflection, and that sends the entire sequence of offense off script. And now you're playing in transition. And whereas Satou Sabally at her absolute best, whereas Kahleah at her absolute best, whereas Alyssa Thomas an all-time great, that's in transition. And it's all just kind of sequencing the things and like a puzzle piece, one thing fitting next to another.
Yeah. And with Ka coming back, the puzzle just gets a lot more difficult for defending teams to solve, right?
Yeah.
And it's already been pretty difficult through 11 games. Goodness, my math is horrible this morning. But with that was AT's return. So the offense, it was pretty balanced attack from the Phoenix Mercury. I think it was 5 players scoring in the double digits or 5 players having a 3, something like that. And it was it didn't ever feel like the Satou Sabally game, but both her and AT ended up with a double-double. And it ended up feeling like the Mercury kind of like powerhouse their way through the victory. they never gave up the lead. They led from start to end, and it was kind of a dominant victory for them.
It was, and I think it starts with Alyssa Thomas and restoring order. Nekias, specific to Alyssa Thomas, how have you kind of seen her being reintegrated into the lineup and how that shifted and kind of put people back in their more natural roles for the team on offense?
That's the big thing. Like and we've seen this for years now with her in Connecticut in particular. Like she just makes so many good decisions and she stacks good decisions in a row. And it's not always a potential assist or a real assist for her. It is her recognizing I could drive, but let me flow into a handoff because I think someone's off balance over here. And then maybe they have an opportunity to attack. And then after that pass, they get the open shot. But it starts with AT recognizing, do I have a scoring window here? Do I need to hit somebody in the chest right now? Okay, maybe not. I can go. Or I see a live cut. If I throw this pass, I'm good enough to make it. Is this actually going to be a scoring opportunity or will the defense recover and they may throw some stuff off? All right, now I'm going to the other side with another handoff. And so just small things like that, I think, help the flow for the Mercury. And then you just get into the basic stuff because she can hit you in the chest and because she is running more inverted ball screens this year. If you get the switch, your guard's just in trouble. She's going to put them underneath the basket. She is going to the free throw line. She is scoring a basket or both. And if you don't switch that, it may not matter because it feels like she's rejecting every other pick and roll that she runs on top of that. And then she's just beating you to the spot. And then we start the decision-making tree again. Do I need to hit this person in the chest or is there something else open? And so her making those decisions on drives in particular, I think helps everyone else. Because I feel like as good as Satou is, and she's had to take more on-ball ownership during this AT-less stretch, like her passing on the move can be pretty inconsistent for her. And the way that she kind of maps the floor on the move can get a little hazy. And so the fact that Satou is slotted back into attacking tilted defenses, or if AT forces a switch or forces a mismatch elsewhere, now the ball gets to Satou, it's an easier matchup for her to win one-on-one. And so some of these ISOs that we saw without AT, with her on the floor, it's just like, oh, okay, this is just a guard. I can just go. And then the reaches become a lot easier from there. So I think you think about the hierarchy, you generally think about scoring, like the number one option is back. And so now everyone else can kind of do the thing. But like the playmaking hierarchy makes a lot more sense with AT back and her being able to kind of shepherd the offense in that way. And so now you don't need Sammy Whitcomb running a bunch of ball screens for you. Not that she was bad at it, but now you can slot her more into I'm spacing, I'm lifting, I'm cutting, I'm setting more screens, I'm relocating. She can focus on more of those things and creating advantages in a way that's more natural for her. You bring in lots of, so I can space, I can cut, I can also screen, etc. I don't have to do as much on-ball things. And so AT coming back certainly helps you on that regard. And going back to your earlier transition point, when you have AT blowing up ball screens with blitzes, you know what I mean? We don't have to worry about the half court anymore. Like this is just a fast break layup and we can help set our defense. And just her presence alone makes the defense better. Thus you get more stops. Thus you get either easy transition opportunities or just early offense flow. And if you're off balance against a team that screens as well and in such variety like the Mercury do, and they space as well as they do, you can't set yourself. You can't feel comfortable. And that just makes the chain a lot easier to kick off. And for everyone else around AT, it's a lot easier to take advantage of what's happening because the defense is even more tilted than they normally would be.
I think that's the point that Nate pretty much brought to me, and that's the unrelenting pressure that she keeps on teams on either side of the ball, but specific to the offense. Nate, excuse me. If we could go ahead and get the Nate Tibbetts graphic or the Nate Tibbetts post game up, Damon, we can go ahead and dive into that. I asked Nate post game about Alyssa Thomas and how she has had, I think, 18 3-point assists over her last 2 games played, and how that's kind of ultimately played into the shot profile they want, but also just the impact that she has simply upon being right back on the court for the team.
I would love to take credit for that, but I think it's her, right? She creates the advantage, and we chart a lot of different stuff. You look at a lot of numbers. We talk about paint to grade threes, and through our first 10 games, I don't know, I think she missed 4 or 5. She was our team leader with 21. That wasn't even counting tonight. The next closest was 7. And so it just kind of tells you who she is and how she wants to play. I think because teams have to make a decision with the shooting that we have around her. But yeah, there were plays tonight that we ran that we haven't been able to run with her out. And so yeah, I think we're still figuring it out as a team, but we want to get her downhill, attacking the rim, and if she doesn't like it, hopefully she's got space around her.
We are going to talk about that clip, plus we're going to wag our tail feathers just a little bit because Steven put out a tweet that the Phoenix Mercury really liked. So we're going to talk about all that and more after this real quick break. Did you guys know it's a double rewards month and a half at Mountain America Credit Union? Mountain America Credit Union is committed to helping their more than 1 million members at their 100 branches throughout the West. You can get 2 times the points on rewards credit card purchases through July 31st. Use your Mountain America Credit or rewards card and watch the points pile up. It's perfect for gas, groceries, travel, home projects, and all other purchases. Probably going to buy a new orange tree with this money because mine already died, as you guys may have learned that I planted at my new house. This promotion is an easy way to stretch your dollar. Stretch it into even more orange trees. Since you earn twice as many rewards, redeem your double points for rewards just like travel rebates, gift cards, event tickets, or orange trees. You never know. Limited time only. Take advantage of it while you can. Details at macu.com/double. Loans on approved credit offer can change or be withdrawn anytime. Limited time offer. Terms and conditions do apply. And then I know you guys know my good friends over at the Circle K. Circling K, if you're a diehard. These guys, they take care of me, okay? Circle K, the Inner Circle Rewards program. I don't think there's anyone that is a bigger friend of mine than the Inner Circle Rewards program, considering of how much gas I buy. Shout out to the Phoenix Mercury for not having a home game for 2 weeks, so I'm about to save a whole lot of money on gas. I really appreciate that. But you can join the Inner Circle just like me. You get 25 cents off every fill up for your first 5 fill-ups, then 3 cents off every fill-up after that, and you can work your way up to a 5-cent off club. I know I'm a part of that club. Damon's part of that club. Steven's a part of that club. I'm pretty sure everyone in the studio is a part of that club. I'm sure Nekias is already a part of that club as well. All you got to do is download the Circle K app, put in your email address and phone number, and you are literally in. You get all sorts of other deals as well on the Polar Pops, 72 cents. It literally doesn't get better than the Inner Circle Rewards program. So join for free by downloading the Circle K app today. Terms and conditions do apply at participating locations. Visit circlek.com for details. Whew. Nekias, you're an Inner Circle Rewards member, right?
I will be now after that ad read. I'll tell you what, that's convincing stuff.
25 cents off a gallon, man. I mean, in this economy, I mean, geez, it's a lot,
That's a separate podcast. Let me tell you.
For sure.
That's a journey we'll go on together. But nonetheless, yes, that clip of Nate Tibbetts talking about AT. And then I do want to, like I said, ruffle our tail feathers a little bit here because Steven put out this tweet after the game on Wednesday, and the Phoenix Mercury decided they liked it so much they wanted to post it too. And so, I want Damon to post this tweet for us. The one of
Let me grab.
I'm sorry, Damon, I'm putting you on the spot here, but no, the Phoenix Mercury really they're obsessed with us, and I don't really blame them. They really like us. We got some good content floating in and around their team, so I feel like they watch us and they're like, "Ooh, look at what Steven said. He pulled this stat that we had no idea about. Look at him go." It
was just me asking. I asked Alyssa Thomas about, because she's not operating in any way that's new for her. It might be new to some people, but it's not new for her. It's even hidden differently more now because of her being surrounded with shooters. So I just simply asked her, like, how does this template for the roster that the Mercury have, not necessarily to compare it to Connecticut, but how does this better complement what you bring as a player? And she basically said, it's all about putting shooters around me. And she said it... She said it respectfully, but she was like, I've been asking for shooters to be around me for some time now. And it's quite literally what happens when you put shooters around me. She's like, it's really not complicated. That's pretty much what she was saying. And,
my girl said it ain't hard.
And you see the result. You get somebody that can get past anybody whenever she wants to, however she wants to. Put shooters around her, that's an offense in and of itself. And I think she made that point too. She was mentioning it's not even plays that they're running at times. It's really just, I can get past my matchup I'm reading who the next defender is, and whoever she's helping off of, the rest of the defense is going to be in trouble because that person that's being left open is going to either shoot or it's going to be somebody else that's open down the line. So, yeah, offense in and of itself, all-time great Alyssa Thomas.
Look at that. Hoo-wee! The engine feels absolutely supercharged here in the desert. Hat tip to the front office for how they built a roster with many complementary pieces surrounding her. 18 assists of Alyssa Thomas have resulted in 3-point makes for the Mercury in her last 2 games played. Sorry, I'm reading really tiny text on a screen, so apologize for my verbal typo there.
You better than me. I wouldn't be able to see it from here. I'm not gonna hold you.
My eyes must work real good. 2024 for what? But Nekias, we've been hammering AT's role, but specifically on the offensive end, just what particularly does she unlock for this Phoenix Mercury team, and how have you seen that kind of come to fruition here in Phoenix?
I'd say just her ability to pressure the rim in general, especially with the broader context of Kahleah Copper not being there. So, like, with Ka being out, AT really is, or at least the name that you would recognize as someone that could just get 2 feet in the paint whenever. Like, very quietly, like, Lexi Held has just kind of lived in the paint on her drives. Now, what happens once she gets into the paint has been a bit of a different story for her, but like, she's just, I've been a little impressed and surprised by the juice that she's had off the bounce. But back to AT, like, her ability to put pressure on the rim, and because they're running so many ball screens for her, a lot of these are switches. And so she can overpower her matchup, or if help comes, okay, these are easy sprays. And as you get into the broader context of having more shooting around her, we got to scramble to make sure this isn't a wide open corner 3. They're also willing ball movers around that. So, like, Nate mentioned paint to great in terms of the threes. It's paint to great shot into an even better shot if they make the extra pass. Like, you just run out of bodies with how the Mercury space the floor, how quickly they get rid of the ball as well. So, like, it's, to AT's point, it's simple. Like, they're not reinventing the wheel. Let's get into the paint. Let's win our matchup. If help doesn't come, I can win. If help does come, you can win. And they just able to kind of build the boat out of that. Like, to the Steven point about the 3-point assist for AT, she's leading the W in 3-pointers assisted on at 32. Kelsey Plum is second at 24, so that's already a gap of 8. Kelsey Plum has played 5 more games than Alyssa Thomas. Like, that's not how that's supposed to work. For you to miss that much time, and I think AT overall is like 5th in assist points this year. And again, she's the only person in the top 5 that hasn't played at least, I think, 9 games among the players ahead of her. It's like, it's insane what she's been able to bring. It was 10 assists against Dallas. You know what I mean? And so, again, like, she is making some spectacular plays within this, so I don't want to downplay it, but conceptually, it is pretty simple. I am stronger and or faster than whoever's in front of me, and if you send help, I can make the right passes. And because we have shooters on the floor, we just have open shots and we're draining them. Like, that's kind of what this is. But, like, AT kicks things off because she can get into the paint as frequently as she does.
Yeah. I want to get into the aces quickly because I feel like we're almost running out of time already. I feel like this time is going by quicker than it usually does. But anything else on the Dallas game that we need to bring up before we move on?
I'll just say quickly, we haven't even seen the full breadth of diversity of usage for Alyssa. I think we see that more once Kai comes back, and probably even more so post All-Star break once they're able to get a little bit more practice with the full team available. We haven't seen many Alyssa post-ups. We've seen a lot of elbow touches. We haven't seen her in the post yet. I think that's going to be a way that they can slow games down when the pace is maybe a little bit more than they want to, or if they just want to play slower just because they feel like matchup-wise that makes them better. That's going to undo the switching that teams like to get to against them. And then I think another point which Nekias and Steve brought up a couple of weeks ago is the short roll. There's a play, I think it was in the 3rd quarter against Dallas, where it was Kit Loxa coming off of staggers, and because someone gets caught up on the screen, it gets an overreaction, so she gets a catch. She basically gets a double team. Alyssa sets that second screen, so Kit kicks it over to AT, and then AT is in a short roll, not in a traditional sense, but just because the defense kind of got undone. And then she makes quick decisions, and it ended up in buckets for, I think Satou hit a corner 3 off of that play in particular. When they're able to have Kahleah back and she's able to get the attention that she's going to garner, and eventually I think Monique's going to get more attention than she's been getting in pick and roll as well of late, opening Alyssa in that short roll pocket and the 4-on-3s and 3-on-2s that she's going to be able to play make in. Again, another layer of offense that they just haven't been able to get to quite yet. And that's going to be, I think that's going to be something that really shifts and gives them more points to Nekias' point. They haven't been scoring crazily yet. I feel like it's going to uptick a little bit more when Kai comes back.
I feel like when Ka comes back, the general population the conversation will shift to, did Phoenix Mercury quietly build a super team? Because everyone was unfamiliar with Monique Cole-McConnell. And now here we are.
And just to say their names, that also goes for Kat Westbelt.
Correct.
Because she's been so good, I don't know if the starting lineup shifts. I think most people assumed that it would be Mac. I wasn't sure it would be Mac just because they had options, but honestly, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And the net rating for that starting lineup when everybody's been available has been really good. But I don't know. I don't know if you tweak it just
no,
yet.
I feel you. And I don't want them to either. But I do got to give Phoenix Mercury a real special shout out right here because in that PA system announcement where it's honking when Natasha Mack does her job, let me tell you something. I grabbed Steven's arm. I said, did you hear that? I was overreactionary. So I need an engine sound behind AT when she does something good. I know that they got money for Monique Cole-McConnell, like a little cha-ching sound. So they got some fun stuff happening in the PHX arena. That's why they got 5 straight sellouts, is because it's such a good time here in Phoenix right now. But the sound system, whoever's doing all the decision making behind the X's and O's and the soundboard, shout out to you, because that was, I need that honk literally injected into my veins.
And to your point on Twitter, make sure y'all add the engine revving. When AT does quite literally anything.
Passes the ball. I don't care. She takes an offensive charge. I don't care what she does. Literally anything. If she touches the ball or touches another player, just vroom, vroom. You can put me on the voice box. I don't care. I'll make the sounds myself. I'll do it every single time. Put the mic in front of me the whole game. Vroom, Nonetheless, though, the Las Vegas Aces, they look and feel a lot different than the last time we spoke with Nekias. So I'm really, really excited to talk to him about this. The Mercury, I've already seen the Aces twice, once in the preseason, once in the regular season. I'm right about that, right?
This season?
Yeah, they have.
No, just once in the preseason.
Then I'm imagining that.
Yeah,
I'm
just
so
preseason.
sorry. I'm so sorry, Nekias. I was lying on your name like that. But nonetheless, it was a close game in the preseason, and obviously, the Aces could look a little different on Sunday, pending injury, because Lord art thou, our GOAT, A'ja Wilson, could be out. She's questionable, not probable. What's the downgrade from probable? Unlikely.
Listed as doubtful.
Thank you. Doubtful is the word I was looking for, and I just am blanking on my English dictionary here. But yeah, A'ja Wilson is doubtful for the game later today against the Dallas Wings, but obviously there's 48 whole hours until Sunday. So hopefully our GOAT gets to come back, because I don't like watching the Aces without A'ja personally. So
I don't know how many people like watching the Aces with A'ja right now with how the season is gone. Like, it's not her fault. So I'll sprinkle that quick joke in. It's been an interesting season. I'll put it that way.
Yeah, I think this is the perfect time to call it ISO. Let you kind of empty the clip on your early season Aces thoughts. Maybe what to expect while A'ja potentially isn't there. I know they play tonight. They play Dallas tonight. She's not likely going to play in this game. Yeah,
I told Wings fans they could win this game, so I'm sorry, Nekias.
Hooey. Well, I think with the Aces, the easiest way to describe them right now is that it is a team trying to find itself on both ends of the floor, which is not really what you want to hear when, like, at least your core 3 of A'ja, Jackie, Chelsea have been healthy for all of these games, and then you add Jewel Lloyd in, so you're naturally trying to work her in. But it's just been an uneven season of basketball for them, and it's been concerning to me because, like, Satou's talked about the condensing of games for the Mercury. Like, the Aces are about to have that stretch. They haven't had that yet. Like, even looking at the most recent Valkyries game, like, they had like 4 or 5 days off before that Valkyries game, and they did not have a good time dealing with that Valkyries defense. And then you get even more days off ahead of the Sparks rematch. And Rakia Jackson hits 4 threes in the first quarter, and McCannon hits one, and they just can't get stops. And it's been kind of surprising how they've looked. I think to the offense first, A'ja seeing a bunch of attention isn't new. I think teams are becoming even more audacious with helping off of Kia Stokes when she's on the floor with her. And so Asia's going to see the best defender. She's normally going to see someone at the nail. They're going to see somebody peeled in from the weak side corner. Like, they just do not want her to access the paint and access the rim. And the problem with that, with this year's roster, is that, last year, Kelsey Plum could just get to the rim. Didn't really matter. And even she had, I think, if it wasn't a career low in terms of rim rate, in terms of the shots she's taking at the rim, like, she was still able to puncture the paint. It's kind of like a second layer. They haven't really had a consistent second layer. Like, Jackie is good enough to get there, and she's still, I think, their best perimeter finisher among that group. But, like, she's also seeing more attention on some of these drives. And then beyond that, like, Chelsea hasn't been able to access the paint to her usual level. Jewel Lloyd, who has mostly been on three, like, she's taken more threes than twos so far this year. And she hasn't had fun finishing at the basket, or really just inside the arc, period. Like, those numbers are out there. And so, like, you don't have anyone that pressures the paint outside of Asia consistently, and teams are just flooding the paint still. And so you don't really have consistent stretches of we drive, we kick, we drive, we kick, we keep you in rotation, we generate something good. So much of the offense feels difficult for them this year. And because Asia hasn't had a superhuman stretch of shot making, I guess I'll say yet, because the sample is just so large. Like, she's just gonna do it at some point. Right. But like, I was talking to Steve about this on the last pod, like, she's converting, I think, 46% of her twos so far this year. We're back in the Lambeer era. It's the last time that we saw her 2-point percentage dip that low. Now, this is obviously early in the season, it'll perk up, but that's where we are with Asia. And she's the one that's kind of been, nothing else is working. I'm just the best player in the league. I'll make this work. If it's not that, who else is kind of lifting the boat? It's been pretty inconsistent. Like, Jackie went off, particularly in the second half of that game against the Sparks. I think it needs to be more of her, but it's been uneven on that stretch. And then defensively for the Aces, it's clear to me that they do not want to help as much as they did last year. Like, they are very much trying to keep things 2v2. And teams have had some fun with that. Like, I go back to the first Seattle matchup that they had, where it is Seattle as they bring the ball up the floor, whoever's in the right wing or whoever's in the wing, y'all are cutting through, we're flattening the spacing, and now it's just Skylar and Nneka time. Skylar takes one dribble, get to the Nneka, and Nneka does whatever she wants to do. And she was tremendous in that game. But it's just like, ooh, even if the Aces want to send help, where are they sending it from? And I remember asking Becky Hammond about that after the game. Or it was after a practice, rather. I sent in a question. And she was like, I asked about the help principle. I was like, do you want to send help elsewhere, or like, what's happening there? It's like, we have avenues to bring more help if we want to, but ultimately we want the players in action to defend the players in action better. I was like, okay, well, that tips me off to this being something they want to get to. Steve described it as they want to be more shell-like defensively. Like, we don't want to fly around if we don't have to. In fact, it reminds me of, funny enough, we want to make the quick NBA comp. Maybe the year before last, the Indiana Pacers. And like, one of the things that was off about their defense, they were very strict on, no, this is 2v2. We are not sending help anywhere. And so you look in the box score or whatever, it's like, okay, they're not allowing a bunch of threes. They're getting killed inside the arc, though, because they're just not helping off. And so, like, in an effort to kind of limit or, direct what the shot profile is for your opponent in one way, they're getting dinged the other way. And it's been some of that for the Aces. Because I would say, like, Asia's probably been the only firm all defense caliber defender that they've had this year. Like, Jackie's gotten there in moments, but it just hasn't been enough. Like, they've gone to more full court pressure with Dana Evans, particularly when she checks in. But it's just they're trying to find it. They're trying to find a way to get stops. They're trying to find a way to limit some of the threes they've been giving up. Like, the opponent 3-point rate for them is down from last year, so you're seeing it, but it's putting a lot of strain on whoever's defending a handoff or a ball screen to contain that, because the help is coming late because they don't want to send the help early to begin with. So it's just jumbled. I understand the process of what they're trying to get to on that end. I think it can work. It just hasn't consistently so far this year. And that's where you're looking at a team that's, I think, 8th in offense, 9th in defense, or maybe that's flipped. But neither end has worked yet for them consistently. So they're still trying to find themselves right now.
Yeah, a couple of questions for me that stood out just in watching the handful of games of theirs that I have seen this season. Dead last in assists. That feels like maybe the biggest indictment against what that team, in terms of their contending and championship winning level, was at its best. yes, it's Asia, but when she's getting double teamed and a half, if not triple teamed, there's shooters on the second side, there's cutting sequenced in, and they have players that can execute in those 4-on-3s and 3-versus-2s. If not, it's Chelsea Gray operating in pick and roll, and no different than Alyssa, but unique to her. That's an offense in and of itself. And the fact that they're 16.3 assists, that feels like, I don't know, man. That feels like maybe one of the biggest kind of alarm moments for me. Like, I know other things will figure itself out, but it doesn't feel like the ball is moving when I'm watching the games with the snappy cadence that it typically would have. Other big thing for me, question-wise for you, Nekias, with Jewel Lloyd, like, obviously coming into the Aces, she's not going to have the ball nearly as much as she did in the last 2 seasons with Seattle. Is there a way to tweak her usage to where maybe she's able to put a little more pressure on the rim via post-ups and letting her just kind of, be the big guard, the big bully guard that she's shown to be at times, and maybe that helps alleviate some of the rim pressure issues they have?
Ooh, okay, so I like both of these. I think one, to the assist/ball movement point, like, I think it feels kind of layered for me because, like, quiet as kept, the Aces just haven't been a high assist, or at the very least a high assist rate team during Becky's tenure. Like, I don't think they've had a top half finish in assist rate since she's been there. And so, like, I think that speaks to some of the advantages they're able to generate early, and ultimately the shot making. When you're thinking about Chelsea, Jackie, Kelsey before she was traded, and obviously Asia. And so, like, them being last is certainly different, but, like, the overall ethos of we're better, we can, with our spacing, we can generate advantages for you to win one-on-one, like, that doesn't feel super different. Like, again, teams have gotten more audacious with their help, and so that part has been a little bit concerning through the broader sense. But even with that, like, the Aces are making kickouts. You know what I mean? Like, something that Steve and I both kind of talked about. Like, the Aces they're mixing in cutting when teams try to load up. They're mixing in, it feels like, more flares and pin in screens this year off the ball. So, like, they're getting to some of the quote unquote solves to what defenses are doing. But again, they just aren't making enough of these shots yet for defenses to feel it. So I do wonder when that flips. Like, that's very much result oriented. Like, I don't super mind the process on that from that aspect with the ball movement. With Jewel, like, the mid post touches are interesting. I think that is a way I think that could be another way for the Aces to manipulate spacing. If you want to go Jewel, like, mid post touch with Asia one pass away and see what teams do with that, I think that's interesting. I think you get to more of that with the smaller lineups that the Aces get into, but even that's kind of layered because, again, the Aces haven't gotten stops to the degree that they're used to. Last year was a down year and they still ended up, I think, 5th in defensive rating by the end of the year. And so, like, that was below their level because they were the league's best defense the year before that. And so you kind of have to pick your poison in a sense. Like, do we go smaller to open up some better looks if we do want to shift some of this usage with Jewel? Like, the thing that I've been tracking, I remember after the Liberty games, like, ooh, she ran like 4 pick and rolls that entire game. Like, that's not the Jewel experience. Like, I think her first shot attempt in that Liberty game came in the second quarter. I'm just like, that's not. I can't say that I love that. And so she has been more involved, but it's still primarily been off-ball usage for her. I think even before getting into the post-ups, can we let her run some empty side ball screens with Asia? Like, can we get to some of that? That's where it was interesting after the Sparks game. And naturally, everyone's mood was down because we just didn't know what the Asia status is. And we still don't officially know. Again, as mentioned earlier, listed as doubtful for tonight's game against the Wings. I would guess she's not going to play, especially with this Mercury game coming up on Sunday. But Becky was asked if conversations have been had to move Jewel Lloyd to the bench. And Becky's, shorthanded the comment at this point, but she said, like, yeah, it's been discussed, and this is something that was brought up by Jewel Lloyd herself. So, like, commendable for Jewel, and kind of speaks to her willingness to buy in, blend in. Like, I just want to win. If I need to come off the bench and that helps, then let's do that. So I commend her on that. I do wonder if they seriously consider that, because I think if for another reason, like, that's an avenue to let her bring the ball up and let her run more stuff with the way that the Aces have kind of staggered things so far with this core forward. And so I think within that, like, yeah, you can get to some of these post touches for her. Like, she does just have to make shots inside the arc at some point. Like, she has missed a lot of these 1 or 2 dribble mid-range pull-ups that she's made a career out of. So, like, I'm not concerned because I know she can make the shots. She has made these shots. Like, I don't feel like it's a structural or like a jump shot mechanic issue. Like, this just feels like basketball randomness. And because she's getting fewer of those attempts with all the threes that she's making, like you just get to some of these wild, like she's under 20% inside the arc this year. Like that's just not Jewel Lloyd. You know what I mean?
Nope.
So like I do wonder, even if it's not her moving to the bench, I wonder if it's just an earlier sub for her. So then when you bring her in, she just has, 4 of your next 6 possessions to do something, even if it isn't for her to shoot. Like just put the ball in her hands and let her make decisions so she can just kind of feel things out. And then you can kind of blend from there. So I do think there's room to kind of tilt things for her.
Who would you have start, or who would you have swap with her and take more of those minutes with the starting group, whether she's literally starting in place of Jewel or if it's just the early substitution pattern that you're speaking to?
Based on how the rotation patterns have played out the last 2 or 3 games, like it feels like Aaliyah Nye would be the move in that regard. Like there's naturally just a lot of noise surrounding Kia Stokes because of how teams guard her and her not being a scorer. And like I think a lot of that criticism is fair because she is just the most obvious help point. But like I just don't think Becky trusts another player to like take her spot consistently, at least not yet. Again, like they have gone smaller in the second halves of games. We've seen a lot more Leah Nye. Tiffany Mitchell's back in the starting lineup. Back in the rotation, excuse me. And so we've seen a lot of her as kind of like the nominal. Well, I guess when she's on the floor at Chelsea shifts to like the nominal 4 defensively. But you get the general point there.
Yeah.
But her kind of being that 5th with the core forward. So, but I don't know if the Aces have someone they fully trust to like make the Kia move. So if I had to guess, it would probably be either Tiffany Mitchell, they just pressure the heck out of the ball, screen, cut, drive, and then we can flow into Jewel, or it's Aaliyah Nye because of just the instant shooting and the movement stuff that they run her in.
Well, I want to ask you guys both about your predictions for the weekend.
Mhm.
And Nekias, we can include the Wings game in the predictions as well, since the Mercury only have 1 game. It's kind of boring for me at this point, considering we've had so many throughout the beginning of the season. I'm like, dang, I only got 1 game this weekend. This is what a drag, man. But anyways, so your prediction for the Aces weekend record?
I'm going to say 1-1 this weekend. Like I think they get one of these games. So much hinges on Asia's availability, and I will just quickly say, like, this is very analysis, but like if we're dealing with any sort of head injury, like, and it's easy for me to say as man on the microphone and not team that wants to win, I just eat the losses and make sure that Asia's okay. Like I'm just not playing with. It hasn't been officially dubbed as a concussion. It could be something else, but like anything related to a concussion or anything, I'm just not playing around with any of that. If Asia has to miss these next 2 or the next 4 or next 5, this is quality of life stuff. I'm just not messing around with it if I'm the Aces. So, but like beyond that, the Aces do still have enough talent to beat the Dallas Wings. And with the way that the Dallas Wings have played defense this year, I've tweeted about it, I've written about it.
Did they do that at all, guys? I'm wondering.
I have been flummoxed all year long with them deciding we're just going to be the most aggressive defense in the W when they just do not have the personnel to do it. Like they have dialed it back a little bit now with some of the front court departures and injuries, but like they're hedging all over the place. I'm just like, bro, please stop it. Please stop it. And so if the Wings are going to be hedge heavy later tonight, as has generally been the case for them this year, like in general, like this should be a defense that's in rotation. And the Aces have been looking for teams to be more in rotation. It should open up ways for them to just score against this Wings group. Like even if it is like the Aces win 88-80, which I don't think that'd be something they'd be pleased with because they should just be better than Dallas. But like this feels like a high scoring game. We score more than y'all. They should be able to get this one. The Phoenix game is a lot hazier because I think even with Asia, and I will say, like she, as elite of a defender as Alyssa Thomas is, like Asia's kind of been like one of 3 people that have been able to consistently get to AT when they match up, which speaks to Asia being best player in the league. Like there are avenues there, but the Mercury just spaced the floor so well. Like it just gives me vibes of like the Seattle game in terms of how they're getting to their spacing, with the added bonus of the Mercury just have shooters all over the place where the Storm do not. And so I'm a little worried about what the Aces defense is going to look like against the Mercury, even if Asia's back. And if she isn't there, we will see what that looks like. So I think they get Dallas. I'm a little more down on the Mercury matchup which probably means they lose to Dallas tonight and they beat the Mercury on Sunday. That's just how that works sometimes. But that's how I feel heading into this one, at least.
Looks like Damon's trying to tell me we're going to overtime. So if you're watching with our streaming partners, be sure to head over to gophnx.com and continue watching this conversation. Thanks to Nekias for being with us, even though we're running a wee bit overtime right now. Steven, your prediction for the weekend?
For the Aces or for the Mercury?
Aces, and you can include, the Mercury's included in that, so go bananas.
I think Dallas is vulnerable right now. I think Vegas
vulnerable is a good
also,
word for it.
I think Vegas is hungry. And I think that the matching of that, whether Asia is available or not, I think they get off the snide tonight and they go and get a win. And then I think the Mercury go and win the game on Sunday. Just one quick thing I'll be looking at is matchups, because that preseason game was fun, because I think the Aces did things matchup-wise that most teams can't get away with. And at Chelsea,
Mac was out for that, right?
Mac was available for that game.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I can't remember exactly who Asia was guarding off the top of my head, but I know that Chelsea Gray was guarding Alyssa Thomas. And that was just flipping the ways they want to go about running their offense, because you want to go inverted pick and roll. If it's Asia or Kia Stokes that's guarding one of the players that they don't think shoots as well as other players what's the advantage that you're creating there?
Yeah.
And if you're going one-on-one, is that taking you out of your offense? So, like, little things like that naturally – Phoenix was doing the same thing on the other end with them too. So I remember it was Mac that got the initial assignment on the Asia Wilson in the preseason game. So it was fun to see. I think AT was guarding Kia Stokes, and she was just, like Nekias just said, just kind of helping off of her, showing help on drives and things like that. So I'll be looking for that over the course of the game and how that kind of plays into each team's approach on both ends of the floor.
As the resident host of the DLLS Wings podcast, it does pain me to say this, but I do fear the Aces are probably going to go 1-1, just like you guys. The Wings have. I'll say this: going from watching the Phoenix Mercury's glorious, beautiful work of art of a defense to watching the Dallas Wings has been painful for me, to say the least.
There's a lot of opportunity to learn there.
Right.
Learn what it looks like, when things are going right, and what the opposite side is.
I'm like, oh my goodness.
Yeah, take advantage of that.
Yeah. It's a fun team in theory, really. It truly is. But it has not come together the way that everybody kind of thought it would. So I'll be interested to see if they can kind of turn things around. Maybe the Aces game is the start of something new. You know what I'm saying? But, I don't want to count my chickens before they hatch. I almost said kitchens. My goodness. Like I said, the English dictionary is really hard, you guys. Don't let ASU fans hear I can't read, man. They'll eat me alive. But anyways, is there anything else Oh, yes, there is. Satou's player exclusive shoe. We talked about it last week. I wanted to make sure we gave her another shout real quick, because every time I see the shoe, I swear it gets flyer than the last time I saw it. The stars on it, the signatures on the bottom of it, it's just a fly shoe. And I'm not gonna lie, I'm a little jealous. I'm obsessed with stars, and so I'm a little jealous that I can't cop the shoe myself. Like, what the heck? Like,
yeah. Shout out to our interns for the videos they did on TikTok about just kind of detailing the layers of the shoe, having her little brother's names on each shoe, having mantras from Kobe Bryant that he spoke onto her, the late great Kobe, and just so many different just integral layers of what Satou is involved with the shoe. Very fun to see. And she's beyond deserving of it.
And you know what else she's deserving of?
Go ahead.
All-star vote. It's actually not hard. And none of y'all get any ideas about stealing any of our emails, because I'm reading.
I was about to say, use your own emails, please.
Yeah, please
use your own emails.
I'm asking kindly. I don't get a voter's ballot for real, so I need this to feel something. You know what I mean? And so don't take my one vote away. That's not nice or kind. I don't want to have to set up new email addresses and rob Nekias of his vote. Like, that's just not fair. So everybody use your own email address, and I won't have to steal Nekias. It actually makes it really easy. But yeah, we got the big three, but then you can throw in whoever else you want. I feel like Monique, probably for Phoenix fans, is probably top on their list.
Between her and Kat, probably gets some those.
I feel like them and Lexi, like, how are they supposed to decide? It's really tough, because someone else has won multiple different games for us. So it's been
why I wish they had like a rookie challenge in some capacity. So many new incoming talents You want to be able to showcase them, especially if you got a superstar heavy league that you're running in.
I'm sorry, but this is the perfect year for rookies versus sophomores.
Oh yeah.
Inject that into my veins,
I
man.
imagine that's in the. I imagine
Kathy's
that's in the
allergic
plans
to money, though. You know
as
what I
they
mean? I mean, I'm sorry to say it so plainly, but Kathy is for real allergic to dollars. If she wasn't, we would be having this conversation right now. So, nonetheless, vote All-Star. Asia Wilson, throw her on the list while you're at it. I got the A1 shirt. I still got to cop my shoes. Nekias, can you do me a solid? Pass along the word. We need purple. Purple A1s.
Okay, I may be able to pass a message. I thought you were about to say you need help getting the shoes. I was like, dog, you know how hard I had to work
I got
to get these shoes.
I got nothing for you, big
No,
dog.
I just need purple ones, man. I like the pink. Don't get me wrong, but I need purple. Here in Phoenix, we rep the Valley colors, and I need them to wear on the show. The dunks are boring. I'm trying to channel my inner goat.
You know what? Next time I talk to Asia, I will see if I can ask about potential colorways coming up. So that's the secondary part to her getting hurt against the Sparks.
Yeah.
Naturally, you just don't want the injuries. But I did plan to ask post game because I was guessing she was going to be one of the post game athletes. I wanted to ask once she was wearing a shooting sleeve in that game, and I was like, wait, is this fashion? Is there something going on with the arm? Because that would explain some of the shot making, etc. And then she also busted out a new colorway during that game. So I had
the best
actual
one
accessory
yet,
questions.
Oh,
yeah,
man,
it was.
Those were so. I couldn't stop looking at them, man. They might get changed to my phone wallpaper because they're just the most beautiful shoe I've ever seen in my life. I mean, the lightning, man. But just imagine if it was in purple. Is all I'm saying.
It was tremendous. So we'll see how she's feeling, and whenever we can talk, I'll see what's going on with these colorways because
Thank you, man.
She feels like they're just coming out of nowhere.
And the blue is cool too.
The blue is tough. I'm partial to blue. That blue is tough.
Well, and as a Memphis fan, I love blue, but I just imagine me walking into the Mercury game in my purple A1s, man. I need it like I need air. So please.
I hate to break it to you, but you would not be alone on that. There'll probably be about
good.
There'll probably be about 1,500 other people.
Catch me walking around with my phone taking pictures. Picture. Look at all these purple A1s. Man, sure. I'm sorry for the assault that's gonna happen on your timelines when that does happen because all you're gonna see is pictures of the dang shoes.
Yeah, that's called influence and impact there.
Oh my gosh, I think Steven just said I have influence.
I was talking about Asia.
Oh, okay. Oh man. All right. Well, on that note, I feel like we should get out of here, man. That was mean. Nekias, thanks for joining us for the second year in a row, though. It's been really fun, and I hope you get to come back again on this show. Maybe this season we don't have to wait a whole year for you to come back,
Yeah, let's make that happen. It's always a pleasure talking to y'all. Steve, you did not have to stonewall her like AT, but that's okay. That just comes with the territory. You know what I mean?
It's okay.
But no, it's always a pleasure.
But is there anything I'm forgetting? I feel like there is something I'm forgetting. So
no, we talked about the sellouts, All-Star, Satou shoe. We
our
good.
tweet, everything's good. So we swimming in the wins today. So nonetheless, you can follow us together on Twitter at @PHNX_Mercury. You can follow that guy at Nekias NBA, and that's spelled Nekias NBA. Is that correct? Hey,
There we go.
Man, this girl can spell check. But and then you can follow me at Erika Lee Day, and that's Lee with no H. And then you can follow Steven at StevenPG3 and Damon Dog at Damon Dog as well. You got to throw that shout in there as well. I think Arizona baseball is losing, so I got to give him something to live for, man.
Mason White homer though. 2-1.
Oh, okay, hometown kid. All right, well, I'm gonna get out of here. I got Mercury practice to get to, so be tapped in with PHNX_Mercury on Twitter, as I will be coming at y'all with updates very, very, very shortly, literally within 20 minutes. So I'll see y'all very soon. See y'all on Monday.
We all silly like the mayor.